Cassidy Morgan stared at her ship's maintenance report with growing despair. The stellar drift wasn't just showing her age, she was screaming it through failing systems and deteriorating hull integrity. The diagnostic panel blinked an angry red, highlighting critical repairs that would cost more credits than Cassidy had seen in the last 6 months combined. "Computer, run the numbers again," she commanded, knowing it wouldn't change anything. The AI's response was as cold as the space beyond her viewport. Calculation confirmed. Essential repairs require 47,000 credits. Current account balance, 3,142 credits. Cassidy ran her fingers through her short auburn hair, the silver streak at her temple catching the dim light of her ship's bridge. 10 years of independent cargo running, building a reputation for reliability and discretion, and here she was, one failed drive coil away from permanent grounding. The communication console chimed, startling her from her financial misery. The incoming transmission bore no origin marker, unusual for this sector of regulated space. More unusual still was the message itself. Simple text, no audio or visual. "We seek passage. Payment exceeds your needs. Dock 17, Level B, Outpost Vega. 1 standard hour." Cassidy's first instinct was to delete it. Unmarked transmissions usually meant trouble, and trouble was the last thing she needed. But something about the message's directness, its certainty, made her pause. "Computer, scan Dock 17 surveillance feeds. Access denied. No active feeds in that sector." Of course. Level B was Outpost Vega's unofficial zone, where station authorities maintained a deliberate blindness to certain transactions. Perfect for illegal dealings, or for those seeking privacy for legitimate reasons. Cassidy checked her sidearms charge, adjusted her worn leather jacket, and made her decision. 1 hour wouldn't hurt, and if the meeting went south, she could always walk away. The corridors of Level B were exactly as she remembered them. Poorly lit, sparsely populated, and thick with the kind of silence that suggested everyone was minding their own business very intently. Dock 17 lay at the end of a twisted path of service corridors, its entrance marked by a malfunctioning status light that hadn't worked in years. As she approached, Cassidy noticed something odd about the air. It seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from sun-baked metal. The effect intensified as she drew closer to the dock's personnel door. "You came." The voice seemed to emanate from the shimmering air itself, melodic and otherworldly. "We are pleased." Cassidy's hand instinctively moved to her weapon, but she kept it holstered. "You're not exactly what I expected." The air condensed, gathered, took form. 2 figures materialized before her, their appearance both beautiful and unsettling. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their skin a translucent silver that seemed to pulse with internal light. Their features were almost human, but too perfect, too symmetrical to be natural. "I am Zenith," the first figure said, its voice the one that had spoken before. "This is Meridian. We require transport to the Edge Nebula." Cassidy's eyes widened. "The Edge? That's 3 weeks through restricted space, assuming we don't get stopped by patrol ships or pirates. And assuming my ship could even make the journey. Your vessel's condition concerns you," Meridian observed, its voice deeper, resonating in Cassidy's chest. "This is why we chose you. Our payment will more than cover your repairs." "And what exactly is this payment?" Cassidy asked, her trader's instincts kicking in despite her fascination. "Because if you're offering credits, I'll need to see them up front." The beings exchanged a look that seemed to crackle with energy. "We offer something far more valuable," Zenith said, extending a hand. In its palm, a small crystal materialized, glowing with the same internal light as their skin. "This is a fragment of pure quantum energy, stabilized in material form. 1/10 of this crystal could power your ship for a decade." Cassidy's breath caught. If they were telling the truth, such technology would be worth millions, billions even. Which meant either this was an elaborate scam, or she was dealing with beings far beyond her understanding. "Why me?" she asked, forcing herself to focus on practical concerns. "There are bigger ships, more experienced crews." "We require discretion," Meridian said. "And someone whose moral compass points true, even when credits do not." The being's eyes, silver pools without pupils, seemed to peer into her soul. "You once returned a shipment of medical supplies without payment when you learned they were needed for an outbreak on Titan's colonies." Cassidy stiffened. "How do you know about that?" "We have watched. We have chosen." Zenith moved closer, its form rippling like liquid starlight. "But we must warn you. Accepting our offer will change you. The payment is not just the crystal. Knowledge will be exchanged. Experiences shared. You will not be the same. Warning bells rang in Cassidy's mind, but they were drowned out by the hum of possibility. Her ship needed repairs. Her career needed a boost. And something deeper, something she rarely acknowledged, craved the adventure these beings offered. I don't suppose you'd care to elaborate on these changes? She asked, already knowing the answer. Some things must be experienced to be understood, Meridian replied. We offer truth, but truth has a price. Cassidy looked at her chrono, then at the beings, then down at her battered boots on the station's worn deck plating. 10 years of playing it safe had led her here, broke, desperate, and standing before an opportunity that was either salvation or damnation. When do we leave? She heard herself say. The beings' forms brightened, their light pulsing in what might have been pleasure. Now, they said in unison. Time grows short, and those who would stop us draw near. As if in response to their words, a distant alarm began to sound. Cassidy recognized the pattern, station security, mobilizing for a sweep. Follow me, she said, survival instincts taking over. And try to look less luminous. My ship's in Dock 43, upper level. We'll need to move fast and quiet. As they hurried through the station's back corridors, Cassidy couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just signed up for far more than a simple transport job. The crystal in her pocket pulsed with possibility, and the beings moved with a grace that made her wonder what other secrets they held. She was right about one thing. This wasn't going to be simple. But as the station alarms grew louder and her mysterious passengers grew more alert, Cassidy realized she'd passed the point of no return. Whatever changes they'd promised, whatever truth awaited at the Edge Nebula, she was now part of something far bigger than unpaid repairs and overdue bills. The game had changed. She just hoped she'd live long enough to learn the new rules. The stellar drift slipped through the darkness of space, its engines humming with a smoothness Cassidy hadn't felt in years. She kept glancing at her instruments, hardly believing the readings. The quantum crystal fragment her passengers had installed in the ship's power core had done more than just repair the failing systems. It had transformed them. Your vessel responds well to the enhancement, Zenith observed from the co-pilot's seat, its silvery form rippling with satisfaction. Though it requires stabilization. Cassidy nodded, watching his new reading scrolled across her display. That's one way of putting it. My ship's never broken Mach 15 before. I didn't even know she could. The crystal awakens potential, Meridian said from behind them, its deeper voice resonating through the bridge. In machines, and in living beings. Something in the way Meridian said those last words made Cassidy's skin tingle. She'd noticed changes in herself since they'd fled Outpost Vega. Increased awareness, sharper reflexes, and sometimes, in the corner of her eye, she could swear her hands shimmed with the same internal light as her passengers. About that, she said, swiveling her chair to face them. You mentioned changes. Are they already happening? The beings exchanged one of their luminous looks. Yes, Zenith confirmed. Your proximity to the crystal, to us, has begun the transformation. Your neural pathways are adapting to process quantum information. Which means what, exactly? Cassidy tried to keep the worry from her voice, but her hands gripped the armrests tighter. It means Meridian moved forward, its form flowing like liquid starlight, that you're becoming more than human. The barriers between physical and quantum reality are thinning for you. As if to demonstrate, Meridian reached out and touched Cassidy's temple. The contact sent a surge of sensation through her body, not pain, but awareness. Suddenly, she could feel the ship around her not just with her physical senses, but on some deeper level. She could sense the energy flowing through its systems, could almost see the quantum patterns that made up reality itself. She gasped as Meridian withdrew its hand, intense. It is only the beginning, Zenith said softly. The full transformation will. A warning klaxon cut through the moment. Cassidy spun back to her console, her enhanced awareness making the threat feel personal. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, she reported, fingers dancing across the controls. Military signatures. Alliance heavy cruiser and 2 patrol vessels. They found us faster than anticipated. Meridian's voice carried an edge of concern. The crystal's energy signature is difficult to mask. The comm system crackled to life. Unidentified vessel, this is the Alliance cruiser adamant. You are harboring fugitive entities. Power down and prepare for boarding. Cassidy's mind raced, processing options with newfound clarity. There's an asteroid field 2 clicks to port, dense enough to mask our signature, if we can make it. The Adamant's weapons will lock on before we reach it, Zenith observed. A smile tugged at Cassidy's lips. Not if they can't see us. She turned to her passengers. You said the crystal awakens potential. Can you help me awaken my ships? The beings moved in perfect synchronization, placing their hands on the ship's console. Energy flowed from their forms into the systems, merging with the crystal's power. Cassidy gasped as she felt the ship's systems integrate with her enhanced awareness. Hold on, she whispered, and pushed the engines to full power. The stellar drift shot forward, its hull beginning to shimmer with the same translucent quality as her passengers. Warning shots from the Adamant passed harmlessly through them, as if the ship had become partially quantum itself. Impossible, the Alliance commander's voice crackled through the calm. All units, target that ship. It's using quantum phase technology. But Cassidy was already weaving through the asteroid field, her enhanced connection to the ship making them move as one. She could feel every gravitational eddy, every spatial distortion. The pursuing ships, bound by conventional physics, couldn't match their maneuverability. They're launching quantum detection probes, Meridian warned. Then let's give them something to detect, Cassidy replied, her confidence growing with each passing moment. She reached out with her new awareness, feeling the quantum energy flowing through the ship. With Zenith and Meridian's guidance, she directed a pulse of pure quantum force toward a massive asteroid. The rock exploded into a cloud of quantum-charged debris, overwhelming the Alliance ship's sensors. By the time they could recalibrate, the stellar drift was gone, having slipped into a pocket of folded space that Cassidy somehow knew how to access. When they emerged hours later, in a quiet sector far from Alliance patrols, Cassidy finally allowed herself to relax. That was incredible, she breathed, looking at her hands, which now definitely shimmered with a faint silver light. You are adapting faster than expected, Zenith said, its tone both pleased and concerned. The quantum integration is progressing rapidly. Is that bad? Cassidy asked, though part of her already knew the answer. It means there will be no going back, Meridian explained. The changes will continue. You will become like us in time. Cassidy should have been terrified. She should have demanded they reverse the process, return her to normal. Instead, she felt a thrill of anticipation. And what exactly are you? Really? We are quantum ascendants, Zenith said. Beings who chose to evolve beyond physical limitation. Our kind exists in the spaces between conventional reality. We guide others who are ready to transcend, Meridian added. Those with the potential to join us in the quantum realm. And you think I have this potential? Cassidy asked, though the energy humming through her body seemed answer enough. We know you do, they replied in unison. The question is, are you ready to embrace it fully? Before Cassidy could respond, new alarms blared. But these weren't external threats, they came from within the ship itself. The quantum crystal was pulsing with increasing intensity, and Cassidy could feel reality starting to bend around them. What's happening? She demanded, even as her enhanced senses told her something fundamental was shifting. The next phase begins, Zenith said calmly. Your ship, like you, is about to evolve. We suggest you brace yourself. As the stellar drift's hull began to shimmer and transform, Cassidy realized she'd gotten far more than a simple transport job. She was on a journey that would change not just her life, but the very nature of her existence. And somehow, despite the danger and uncertainty, she couldn't wait to see what came next. The stellar drift wasn't just a ship anymore. As Cassidy stood on the bridge, watching reality ripple around them, she realized it had become something entirely new. The quantum crystal's energy had transformed the hull into a shifting lattice of light and matter, simultaneously solid and ethereal. The integration is complete, Zenith announced, its silvery form now almost indistinguishable from the ship's interior. Your vessel exists partially in quantum space now. Cassidy flexed her fingers, watching the same ethereal light play across her skin. Like me, she said softly. The changes had accelerated in the past few days. She could see quantum patterns everywhere now, could feel the vibrations of reality itself. You are progressing well, Meridian observed, moving to stand beside her. But others have noticed. The hunters approach. As if summoned by Meridian's words, space twisted ahead of them. 3 ships emerged from quantum space, sleek, predatory vessels unlike anything in the Alliance fleet. Quantum hunters, Zenith's voice carried an edge of genuine concern. They track beings like us across dimensions. They seek to harvest our essence. The comm system crackled with a voice that seemed to echo from multiple realities at once. Quantum signatures detected. Surrender your vessels and prepare for extraction. Resistance will only increase your value. Cassidy felt a chill despite her evolving nature. Friends of yours? The opposite, Meridian's form pulsed with agitation. They are beings who rejected ascension but learned to prey upon those who embrace it. They harvest quantum essence to maintain their corrupted forms. The hunter ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls crackling with dark energy that made Cassidy's new senses recoil. She could feel them trying to lock onto the stellar drift's quantum signature. We can't outrun them, she realized, her enhanced awareness reading the tactical situation instantly. They're using our own quantum wake to track us. No, Zenith agreed. But perhaps we can hide. The being moved to the ship's console, its form merging with the controls. There is a place nearby, a quantum fold in space where reality runs deeper. Cassidy understood immediately, the knowledge flowing into her mind through her connection with the ship and her passengers. The Twilight Nexus. A space station that exists in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Yes, Meridian confirmed. A haven for those who walk between realities. But reaching it will be difficult. The hunters will not make it easy. The enemy ships opened fire, their weapons releasing bolts of anti-quantum energy designed to disrupt their ship's transformed state. Cassidy felt each impact like a blow to her own body, the quantum essence within her recoiling. Then let's make it harder for them, she growled, embracing her new nature fully. She reached out with her quantum-enhanced senses, feeling the fabric of space around them. The hunters were strong, but they were still bound by certain laws. Laws that, she was discovering, didn't entirely apply to her anymore. Zenith, Meridian, help me bend it, she commanded, understanding instinctively what needed to be done. The beings moved to flank her, their energy merging with hers. Together, they reached into the quantum substrate of reality. Space twisted. The stellar drift didn't so much move as redefine its position in reality. They jumped from quantum state to quantum state, each shift leaving confused hunters firing at where they had been. Impressive, the hunter's voice crackled again, but now with a note of frustration. The human learns quickly. Her essence will fetch an excellent price. Keep dreaming, Cassidy muttered, executing another quantum shift. But each jump drained their energy. The crystal pulsed warnings. They couldn't maintain this level of quantum manipulation for long. Through her enhanced vision, Cassidy saw it. A tear in conventional space, barely visible even to quantum-attuned senses. The Twilight Nexus waited on the other side, existing in all possible states at once. There's our way in, she announced. But they'll follow us through. Not if we collapse the quantum wake behind us, Meridian suggested. But doing so would drain significant power. We might not have enough energy to stabilize when we reach the Nexus. What happens if we don't stabilize? Cassidy asked, though part of her already knew the answer. We could become lost between states, Zenith explained. Neither fully quantum nor fully physical. Trapped in the space between realities. Another barrage of anti-quantum weapons rocked the ship. Warning signals flashed as their quantum field began to destabilize. The hunters were adapting to their evasion pattern. Better trapped than harvested, Cassidy decided. Hold on to something, or whatever the quantum equivalent is. She drove the stellar drift toward the Terran space, pushing their quantum engines beyond safe limits. The hunters followed, their weapons converging on their position. Space itself seemed to scream as they punctured the barrier between realities. The Twilight Nexus appeared before them, a massive structure that seemed to exist in a dozen different forms simultaneously, each version overlapping the others in a mind-bending display of quantum architecture. Collapsing quantum wake, Meridian announced, channeling power from the crystal. The tear in space sealed behind them, cutting off the hunters' pursuit. But the energy cost was immense. Cassidy felt their quantum field fluctuating wildly as they approached the station. We're losing cohesion, Zenith warned. The ship can't maintain its quantum state. Cassidy felt it happening, reality becoming uncertain around them. The stellar drift was shifting between states, unable to fully exist in any single one. Through the viewport, she could see the Twilight Nexus fragmenting into its multiple versions, each one calling to them from a different quantum frequency. Which version do we aim for? She asked, fighting to maintain control as their quantum field continued to deteriorate. All of them, Meridian replied. And none of them. The nexus exists in quantum superposition. We must match its resonance. Cassidy closed her eyes, reaching out with her quantum senses. She could feel the different versions of the station, each vibrating at its own frequency. But there was something else, a pattern in the chaos, a harmony in the quantum noise. I can't hear it, she whispered. The quantum harmony. If we tune our field to match. She didn't finish the sentence. Instead, she acted on instinct, adjusting their quantum frequency millisecond by millisecond. The stellar drift shuddered, its reality becoming even less certain. For a moment, Cassidy felt them existing in all possible states at once, a sensation that would have driven her mad just days ago. Then, with a sensation-like reality snapping back into focus, they matched the Nexus's quantum resonance. The station solidified around them, though Cassidy could still see echoes of its other versions shimmering at the edges of her perception. We made it, she breathed, looking down at her hands. The quantum light within her pulsed in sync with the station's own quantum field. But something tells me our troubles aren't over. No, Zenith agreed, its form stabilizing in this new quantum environment. They are just beginning. The Twilight Nexus holds its own dangers and opportunities. As they docked with the impossible station, Cassidy realized she was crossing another threshold. The hunters would find other ways to pursue them. The Alliance hadn't given up its search, and the quantum transformation within her was still accelerating. But standing on the bridge of her transformed ship, feeling the pulse of quantum reality around her, Cassidy knew she wouldn't have it any other way. She was changing, evolving, becoming something new. The real question was, what would she become when the transformation was complete? The Twilight Nexus defied conventional reality. As Cassidy followed Zenith and Meridian through its shifting corridors, she saw the same space repeat and overlap itself, each version slightly different. Some corridors glowed with quantum light, while others seemed to absorb it. Beings of various species and quantum states passed through and around them, some fully physical, others barely more than patterns of energy. Welcome to the crossroads of realities, Meridian said, its form shifting to match the station's quantum resonance. Here, all possibilities exist simultaneously. And all of them are for sale, a new voice added. A figure emerged from one of the overlapping corridors, humanoid, but composed entirely of crystalline patterns that caught and refracted quantum light. I am Nexus Marshal Prism, and you three are causing quite a stir. Cassidy felt the Marshal's quantum field brush against her own, scanning, analyzing. The hunters have already posted a bounty. Prism continued. Quite generous, especially for the half-transformed human. They're very interested in your particular quantum signature. We claim sanctuary, Zenith declared formally. Under the Nexus accords of multiple states. Prism's crystalline form chimed with what might have been amusement. Sanctuary requires resources. The Nexus maintains its quantum neutrality through careful balance of energy and influence. The Marshal's faceted gaze fixed on Cassidy. Though perhaps we could make an arrangement. Your unique transformation could provide valuable data. Before Cassidy could respond, reality rippled around them. A new figure stepped through what appeared to be solid wall, tall, elegant, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that swirled with quantum fire. Now, Marshal, the newcomer's voice resonated on multiple quantum frequencies. Let's not be hasty. I believe these visitors are expected. Prism's crystalline form stiffened. Director Void. This is outside your jurisdiction. Is it? Void smiled, the expression sending ripples through nearby quantum fields. I think you'll find their credentials are in order. The director produced a quantum signature that made Prism's form flicker with recognition. Very well, the Marshal conceded, though Cassidy sensed reluctance in their quantum harmonics. They're your responsibility. Prism's form fragmented, each piece disappearing into a different version of reality. Well, Void turned to them, quantum fire dancing in their eyes. Shall we discuss your situation somewhere more discreet? Cassidy glanced at her companions. Zenith and Meridian had gone completely still, their quantum signatures dampened. Warning signals flickered through her enhanced senses. After you, she said carefully, her hand brushing the quantum-modified weapon at her hip. Void led them through impossible geometries, reality bending and folding around them until they entered what appeared to be an office. But like everything in the Nexus, it existed in multiple states, part luxury suite, part laboratory, part something Cassidy's still developing quantum senses couldn't quite comprehend. I've been watching your progress with great interest, Void said, gesturing for them to sit in chairs that shifted between various forms of matter. Particularly yours, Cassidy Morgan. Your adaptation to quantum reality is unprecedented. You know my name, Cassidy observed, remaining standing. And you seem very prepared for our arrival. Of course. Void's smile widened. After all, I'm the one who arranged for Zenith and Meridian to find you. The revelation hit Cassidy like a quantum pulse. She turned to her companions, who no longer seemed able to meet her gaze. Is this true? She demanded, quantum energy crackling around her clenched fists. We were guided to you, Zenith admitted, its voice heavy with resignation. But our intentions were honest. You truly do have the potential we spoke of. The potential I identified, Void corrected. When I discovered your unique quantum resonance pattern months ago, all it needed was activation. Understanding dawned with sickening clarity. The crystal, Cassidy said. This whole transformation, it was all planned? A necessary catalyst, Void explained, moving to a console that flickered between states of existence. Your quantum signature is unique, Cassidy. Unlike anything we've seen in centuries of studying human potential. With proper development, you could become a bridge between quantum and physical reality. A weapon, you mean? Meridian spoke up, surprising everyone. That's what you really want. A way to extend your influence beyond the quantum realm. Void's pleasant demeanor cracked slightly, quantum fire flaring in their eyes. I prefer to think of it as evolution. Humanity's next step. And you, Cassidy, are the prototype. The quantum energy within Cassidy surged, responding to her anger. Reality rippled around her as she struggled to control her growing power. I am not your experiment, she growled. But you are, Void countered. You have been since the moment the crystal's energy first touched you. The only question is whether you'll accept the opportunity I'm offering. They gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a schematic of quantum technology far beyond anything Cassidy had seen. With my guidance, you could become something extraordinary. A true bridge between realities, able to manipulate quantum space at will. The Hunters, the Alliance, they would be insignificant compared to what you could become. It was tempting. Cassidy could feel the truth in Void's words, could sense the potential humming through her quantum-enhanced body. But she also sensed something else, a darkness in Void's quantum signature, a corruption that ran deep. And what happens to humanity when you have your bridge? She asked. What happens to those who can't make the quantum leap? Void's expression hardened. Evolution requires sacrifice. Those who cannot adapt must make way for those who can. Like hell, Cassidy snarled. In one fluid motion, she drew her quantum-modified weapon and fired. The blast caught Void off guard, disrupting their quantum field momentarily. Run, she shouted to Zenith and Meridian. Reality fractured around them as Void recovered, quantum fire erupting from their form. Foolish girl, Void's voice boomed across multiple frequencies. You cannot run from what you are becoming. But Cassidy was already moving, her quantum senses guiding her through the chaos of overlapping realities. She could feel Zenith and Meridian following, their quantum signatures synchronizing with hers. The ship, she commanded. We need to reach the ship. Alarms blared across all versions of the Nexus. Martial Prism's crystalline form appeared in multiple corridors, trying to cut off their escape. And behind them, Void's quantum fire consumed reality itself as they gave chase. Cassidy had started this journey looking for a simple payment. Now she was running from the architect of her own transformation, through a station that existed in all realities at once, with two beings who had both betrayed and tried to protect her. And somewhere in the quantum chaos, she had to find a way to complete her evolution on her own terms, before Void could turn her into the weapon they desired. The hunt was on, and reality itself hung in the balance. The Twilight Nexus shuddered as reality itself seemed to tear apart. Cassidy ran through corridors that existed in multiple states at once, her quantum-enhanced senses guiding her through the chaos. Behind them, Director Void's pursuit turned entire sections of the station into quantum fire. The docking bay exists in 7 different quantum states, Zenith warned as they rounded another impossible corner. We must synchronize perfectly to reach the stellar drift. And hope the ship still exists in a compatible quantum frequency, Meridian added, deflecting a burst of Void's energy that threaded through multiple realities. Cassidy's mind raced, processing quantum data with increasing clarity. The transformation within her was accelerating, driven by the stress of their flight. She could see quantum patterns everywhere now, could feel the vibrations of multiple realities calling to her. We won't make it to the ship, she realized, skidding to a halt in a junction where three versions of reality overlapped. Not together. Void's quantum signature is too strong. They'll track us through any reality we choose. Then we die here, Zenith said simply, taking up a defensive position. No. Cassidy turned to face her companions, the quantum light within her pulsing with newfound purpose. You two get to the ship. I'll deal with Void. That's suicide, Meridian protested. Even with your transformation, you're not fully quantum yet. Void has existed in this state for centuries, which is exactly why they'll lose. Cassidy smiled, feeling the quantum energy surge through her. They've forgotten what it means to be human. Before either being could respond, reality crystallized around them. Martial prisms form emerged from the walls, floor, and ceiling simultaneously. Surrender, the Marshal's voice chimed across quantum frequencies. The station's quantum core is destabilizing. Void's pursuit will tear the Nexus apart. Good. Cassidy's voice carried new authority, her quantum signature pulsing with increasing power. That's exactly what I'm counting on. She turned to her companions. The quantum core, it's what maintains the station's multiple states, right? Understanding dawned in Zenith's luminous form. Yes. Without it, the Nexus would collapse into a single reality. And anything not properly anchored to that reality would be lost between states. Meridian finished, their tone carrying both awe and concern. Precisely. Cassidy reached out with her quantum senses, feeling the station's core resonating deep below them. Marshal, I'm offering you a deal. Help my friends reach their ship, and I'll stop Void before they destroy the Nexus. Prism's crystalline form shifted through multiple patterns as they considered. And how exactly do you plan to do that? By giving them exactly what they want. Cassidy's form began to shimmer, quantum energy radiating from her in waves. A bridge between realities. The Marshal's response was cut off by Void's arrival. The Director's form was magnificent and terrible, quantum fire consuming reality around them as they stepped through the barriers between states. Enough running, Void commanded, their voice resonating across all frequencies. Accept your destiny, Cassidy Morgan. Become what you were meant to be. Oh, I intend to. Cassidy's quantum signature flared, matching Void's power in a way that should have been impossible for a half-transformed being. But not on your terms. She struck first, channeling quantum energy in ways that felt instinctive yet new. Void responded with centuries of experience, their battle playing out across multiple planes of reality simultaneously. Marshal now, Cassidy shouted between quantum exchanges. Get them to the ship. Prism hesitated only a moment before acting, their crystalline form shepherding Zenith and Meridian through a carefully selected path of quantum states. Void tried to pursue, but Cassidy held their attention, matching them blow for quantum blow. Impressive, Void acknowledged, their form growing larger as they drew power from the station itself. But ultimately futile. You cannot hope to match my mastery of quantum space. I don't need to, Cassidy replied, allowing herself to be driven back toward the quantum core. I just need to understand it better than you do. She could feel the core's resonance growing stronger, its quantum frequencies becoming erratic under the strain of their battle. Void was so focused on overwhelming her that they didn't notice how each exchange pushed the core closer to critical instability. Your transformation is remarkable. Void pressed their attack, quantum fire consuming more of reality with each strike. Together, we could reshape existence itself. That's your problem, Cassidy grunted, absorbing another quantum blast. You've spent so long existing in all realities that you've forgotten the power of choosing just one. Understanding came too late to Void's quantum-fired eyes. Cassidy reached out with everything she had, connecting not just with the quantum core but with her own humanity, the part of her that still remembered what it meant to be bound by physical loss. No. Void lunged for her, but Cassidy was already acting. She pushed her quantum energy into the core, not fighting its instability but embracing it. Reality shuddered as she forced the core into resonance with her own dual nature, part quantum, part physical, but fully committed to neither. The effect was catastrophic. The Twilight Nexus's multiple states began to collapse, reality itself screaming as it was forced to choose a single form. Void's power, spread across too many realities, began to fragment. What have you done? They howled across quantum frequencies. Reminded you of the price of existing everywhere, Cassidy answered, maintaining her connection to the core. Sometimes you have to choose. Through her quantum senses, she felt the stellar drift power up, felt Zenith and Meridian's familiar signatures safely aboard. Martial Prism's crystalline form had already adapted, anchoring themselves to the reality that was asserting itself. Void made one last attempt to strike her, but their quantum fire was guttering, spread too thin across collapsing realities. "You're destroying everything we could have become." "No," Cassidy corrected them, maintaining her focus as reality consolidated around them. "I'm choosing what I want to become." The quantum core pulsed one final time, and the Twilight Nexus snapped into a single state of reality. Void's form, unable to exist in just one reality, began to dissolve. "The quantum realm needs a bridge," they gasped as their consciousness scattered across dimensions. "It has one," Cassidy replied, feeling her own transformation stabilize into something new. Neither fully quantum nor fully physical, but a true bridge between states. Just not the one you wanted. In the aftermath, as emergency systems brought the Nexus's new singular reality under control, Cassidy made her way back to the stellar drift. Her ship, like her, had found a balance between states, existing primarily in physical space but capable of quantum shifts when needed. Zenith and Meridian waited at the airlock, their forms now stabilized into a similar state of dual existence. "You succeeded," Zenith said simply. "In more ways than one," Meridian added. "You've shown us a new path, a way to exist in both realms without losing touch with either." Cassidy looked at her hands, watching quantum energy play across physical flesh. That was the point. Evolution doesn't have to mean leaving everything behind. Sometimes it means building bridges. She took her place at the helm of the stellar drift, feeling the ship respond to both her physical and quantum commands. The quantum crystal pulsed in harmony with her dual nature, no longer trying to force a complete transformation but maintaining the balance she had chosen. "So," she said, plotting a course through both normal and quantum space, "about that payment you promised." The beings who had become her friends laughed, the sound resonating across multiple frequencies while remaining beautifully, perfectly human. The stellar drift lifted off from the newly consolidated Twilight Nexus, carrying its crew of quantum pioneers into whatever reality they chose to explore next. Cassidy Morgan, who had started this journey looking for simple ship repairs, now navigated the boundaries between realities themselves. She hadn't just found a way to pay for repairs, she'd found a way to repair reality itself, building bridges between what was and what could be. And somehow, that felt worth far more than any amount of credits.